hope you're well. Hey, today we're going to talk about probably the most important thing I've ever discussed on this channel to date, and that is water. And so you're not going to want to miss this one. This is going to be fantastic. I'm going to go through 4 major points here about water. And each one of these, if you can think of these like legs of a chair, each one is equally important. So you want to stick around and listen to all of it. Also, I don't want you taking notes because I'm going to put all the notes down below. Just try to take some of this information in. And the takeaway from this is you're going to walk away with the knowledge and know-how how to improve the quality of your water tenfold. You're going to develop a sensitive taste towards good quality that will be pleasing beyond measure. And so if you think about water, do you want to, let's say, drink from a puddle out in the street in which a homeless guy's sitting in? Or would you drink from your tap? Or would you prefer to go to the source? And I'm not just talking about water, I'm talking about information here too. You want to get the source from the tap, and the tap, let's say the mountain tap. And we're going to show you how to get that kind of water, that fantastic quality water. And the information I'm giving you has been memorialized for thousands of years. We're going to go back almost 4,000 years on this, but we're going to bring it all together, tie it together neatly, and show you how you can package this, and you can take this information right today, and it will literally change your life. Okay, so stay tuned. Here we go. The structure of water. Life itself can be the canvas or the facilitation of water. For example, if you think about the roots of a tree, the blood vessels of a human body, or if you have a high vantage point in, let's say, an airplane or Google Maps and looking at a natural river, you see the same geometric or similar geometric formations. And these are archetypal patterns that are due to the optimal form that water likes to take when it's in movement in a natural physical world. And so if we take water at your house, for example, water's piped in these straight linear pipes, and it's unnatural for water to move like that, and it's equivalent to putting a straitjacket on the water, and it diminishes the quality of water. And I'm going to get into this more, but I just want you to hold on to that thought for a second, okay? And I want you to think about the ancients. Why did the ancients, in all cultures, all civilizations, why did they store all vital fluids in a sphere or ovoid shaped container? For example, if you look at the Greeks, that you see these things, they're called amphoras, right? These kind of things, big long ones and stuff. But what does that look like to you? What does that look like? It looks like an egg. And think about that, for example. Okay, so you think about the Greeks, and a lot of times we think about these ancients as they were ignoramuses, they were stupid, they didn't understand things. And because how can you stack these things up? How can you store these things if they don't have a flat bottom? And the Greeks would have to build these boxes, and they put these things in sand. But they understood the natural archetypes of water and the movement patterns and the energy of water. And so these things, so if you look at, well, let's take it the other way. Let's say if we took a sphere, let's say if we stored water in a sphere, kind of like, let's say, a tennis ball, and the center of the tennis ball to the outer sides is all equal, eventually the movement would stop. Does that make sense? And so that's why if you look at the human body, there's 100 trillion, with a T, 100 trillion cells in the body, and just about every cell has this kind of shape to it. Do you get it? Okay, so if you look at someone, and I'm to the point now, once I'm starting to get this and working in healthcare for almost 3 decades now, I can look at someone from a distance and I can tell if they're healthy or sick just by looking at their geometric pattern. Very, very interesting. And so if you look at, for example, even a rotten tomato or a rotten apple, as they start going off, they start expanding. You see fissures, they start cracking, they start swelling. Okay, anything that's healthy is in a slight vacuum. A healthy human body, every single cell in your body, and look this up, is in a slight biological vacuum. Your body's in a slight vacuum. There is no pressure in your body, even the brain. When people get older, did they expand, swell up, or did they shrivel up? Okay, and so there's all this talk about pressure and blood pressure, and I'm not going to get into that, but let's just keep it at water. This is if you're going to store water, you want to think about this. Think about this for a second, okay? And we're going to get into why a little bit more, but we want to keep water stored always in a round-bottomed container. If you can get something spherical like this, all the better, because you want to keep that movement going, okay? So we're on to the next one. Temperature of water. So we now know that besides being a clear liquid and wet, or sometimes frozen like ice, water has characteristics on how it takes shape and form. Now, Victor Schauberger, a natural philosopher, found that there's an anomaly point with water, which is 39 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius. And at this temperature, water is at its densest point, meaning that if it goes up a little bit, it will start to turn into ice and it will expand. If it goes down, it starts heating up and swells. So why is this important? And to us and to water? Well, it's because when water's at its densest form, its volume's at its minimum. This is the point where water is at its healthiest or healthful. And that's why most refrigerators are set at 4 degrees Celsius or 39 degrees Fahrenheit, because things don't spoil at that temperature and they coincide with the properties of water. And an example of this would be like the human body. The human body has a vitality point of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is the temperature which is ideal for the body. So let's take a quick recap here. And so there's a couple things we know now. So we know, for example, that water needs to be kept in cold. 4 degrees centigrade or 39 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the optimal temperature for water. It needs to be kept in the dark, okay? And it needs to be kept in a round bottom. If you can go with an ovoid or spherical shape, all the better, because you're going to get more movement. Something like this, okay? Filtration. Let's start very low tech and inexpensive, and then if we have time, we can go, or we can do this later, we can go into more elaborate processes like inline filtration or reverse osmosis and stuff. But let's start with something really low tech. Let's start with something you're all familiar with. A tip, you can buy these things anywhere. But before you even start the filtration thing, you want to clean the filter itself. And the best way to clean it is, and the reason why you want to clean it is because it's a polycarbonate, and polycarbonates are very toxic and they're generally not BPA free. So the best way is get a cup of baking soda, put some scalding hot water, not boiling water, and fill it up and let it soak overnight. And that usually gets rid of the polymer coating on that. Now the filter itself is almost always a carbon filter, and the carbon in the form of coconut or burnt coconut shells. Now, occasionally you might find a dubious manufacturer uses burnt bones, so you want to do your due diligence there and see what you're finding there. But this in itself is okay. It's not a great filter. If you want to make it a little bit better, or a lot better, as I said earlier, you want to filter always with chilled water. And so you want to take a separate container of equal size, let's say, and keep it in the refrigerator overnight. At least 4 to 8 hours, you want to chill that water. Why? Because you want to get the Victor Schauberger's anomaly point, which is 4 degrees centigrade or 39 degrees Fahrenheit. And the reason being is, at that point, water is at its densest form. It's at its most nutritive form. And when the water is very dense like that, your filtration is going to go exponentially better. Okay? Now, these things are okay, but by chilling the water, you're going to get a much better quality of water. But it's not going to get rid of things like fluoride and chloride and all these things. And you hear an awful lot of talk about this, but what are these things? What is fluoride? What is chloride? These are all halides or halogens, and if you look at the periodic table, they would be in the final column there. And you think about like iodine, salt has iodine, bromine or bromine. You see it in grouts. Most flours and cookies and bread doughs, you see bromine and bromide, and fluoride, fluorine. But what do these things do? What is the beef with fluoride and these halogens or halides? What's our concern? What does it do to the body? But if you think about that, and if you do just a cursory research on it, you find that the studies show in mammals that it hardens tissues like the brain. Okay, so to remove some of the real nasty stuff, we're going to have to supplement our little filter here. I've been testing our water here in Dublin, and also when we go to the States, we've been testing it, and it's always fluctuating. You can go on Amazon, you can buy these little testers that you put in the water, and it tells you how many parts per million is in the water, and it tells you, and our water's been fluctuating anywhere from between 40 and 110. But there's one thing that's concerning me right now is this new thing showing up is ammonia, and ammonia that attaches to fluoride in the form of a thing called chloramine. Nothing that we have has been filtering this out. None of these gravity things are going to remove that. They're not going to remove any of the fluoride, chloramine, any of the halides. But there is a simple fix, and that's by going to your pet shop. If you go to a fish supply store, or what I did is I went to a pool supply shop, and the thing's called Zeolithe. I'll write this down for you. Okay, I hope you can read this. My writing looks like that, right? Zeolithe? Okay, can you read that? Okay. Now, zeolite is it's called alumina, not aluminum. So I don't want anybody writing to me saying you're advocating putting aluminum in the water. It's not aluminum, it's alumina. It's its own element. And zeolite is generally found at lake beds. And it's a mineral, and it has like a honeycomb kind of structure. It's real cheap if you buy it at pool suppliers. And it kind of looks like a rock kind of thing. Or you can get it real small, fine gravel, which is probably better for your filters. And so you want to treat the zeolite. The zeolite's great for things like farming runoff, nitrates. They also use it like nuclear reaction cleanup crews for removing some of the radioisotopes or uranium. So it's a wonderful thing, and sometimes really nasty bacteria gets rid of that as well. So you want to rinse it first. Get a cup of this, and this lasts forever if you take care of this. The best way to treat it first is put 1 part, let's say a 1/4 cup of hydrogen peroxide and 3/4 cup of water, and let it soak in that overnight, and it recharges that. And if you did this, you could keep this stuff literally for years if you do this every 3 months. And that goes with your carbon and goes with everything else I'm talking about here. This is how you recharge it, keep it clean, keep this stuff lasting forever. So we're going to take our little filter here, and we're going to add, let's say, a cup of zeolite to that, okay? And that does the trick. Wonderful stuff, okay? The next thing we want to do is we want to look at, we had a problem at one of our showers, I think the shower at work, and we were trying all these things, and we just kept getting mold on the walls, and a real simple fix for that was we took the shower filter itself. Now you can buy these shower filters, they come with these the housing units. Throw the filter away because it's just almost useless. Fill it up with zeolite, and the other thing we filled it up with is silver coins. Now, in the U.S., if you get dimes and quarters pre-1963, and silver right now is at 14 something an ounce, it's really cheap. Or you can buy silver coins. You just make sure you wash them, put them hydrogen peroxide in water, clean it off, and then add that into your filter as well. What that does, it gets rid of a lot of the nasty microbes and bacteria and stuff like that. Really, really good. Good for mold. It clears it out. Real simple, and it lasts forever. Now, the last thing I would like to talk about, the third thing I want to add, is a thing called magnetite. Magnetite. Let me write this down for you. Okay? And it looks like that. I don't know if you can read that or not. Now, this is an iron oxide, but it doesn't rust, and it's magnetic. Magnetite has an octahedral type of structure. And so it's kind of interesting if you think about it. It's kind of like 2 pyramids on top of each other, the structure of it. And they are exact same dimensions as the Egyptian pyramids. Okay? It's also an adsorber, not an absorber, an adsorber. So it's great for cadmium, arsenic, and some really nasty bacteria. And so, it comes in it looks like it's really heavy. It's like a metal. And so what I do is I put it in a filtration bag. You can get these at the fish supply shops, and I put that in there. But I clean it first, hydrogen peroxide and water, 1/4 hydrogen peroxide, 3/4 water. Let it sit overnight, and there we go. We have zeolite, we have magnetite, and we have silver in there. And now you have probably the best water filter on the market. Now you could do the same thing if you want to go reverse osmosis, and they kind of look like this. You see them. If you go on Amazon, the one I would recommend, I mean they fluctuate, but I've been using this company called iSpring, and I'm going to put it down below. I don't know. They're all pretty good, but I found this one works really, really well. I tend to go with one that has 6 filtrations. Now the 6th filtration would be the alkalization, and you never need to alkalize your water. All that, it's just garbage, it's just junk science. When people talk about that, just disregard that. Take that casing, unscrew it, and then put your zeolite, your magnetite, and your silver coins in that. And then you got a fantastic filter. You got an absolute fantastic. You can look over here. You can see this is the one we use here at work. This is an old. I found this. You can go online. Sometimes you can find these ancient amphoras. We got this out of Portugal. And this is, I don't know, 3 or 4 generations this family's been making these things, but it goes way, 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 way back. I just read recently where they found an amphora in I believe, Rome, where it was full of wine. It was 1,100 years old, and the wine was still good. So, Let's go back to the basics now, okay? This is the takeaway. Here we go, okay? We have the 3 things we added here, but the most important thing you want to do is well, all these things, but you want to chill the water. You want to get the water down to 4 degrees centigrade, which is, the equilibrium point, and or 39 degrees Fahrenheit. You want to chill it overnight. You want to store it in a round bottom container. It needs to be in the dark, and it needs to be out of the light. If you do those things, the quality of your water is going to be exponentially better. Once you get used to drinking this kind of water, you'll never ever go back to plain water. You'll develop such a fantastic palate for water. You'll just begin to love water, and it'll become the most important nutrient in your life. Since you are mostly water, you might as well get the water first right, okay? If you like what we had to say here today, please like and subscribe. We have loads more of information like this that I promise you won't find anywhere else on the internet, and we need your support. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you real soon.